Welcome back to the Wizard Shop. It's another hot June day here in Kansas, and at this time of year you typically have cars start having air conditioning failures. This 99 Viper is no exception. This is Leo's. It's been in the shop before, and when it was in here last time we actually injected UV dye into the AC system, so if there was any issues this summer we would be able to pinpoint it. And sure enough, his AC has quit on him. We located with the UV light and we found the compressor. It glowed green like Chernobyl. Actually, Chernobyl glowed blue. But anyways, it looked like the nuclear. It's bad. So it's time for a new compressor. That's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to pull off this old compressor, putting on a new one. There is no catastrophic failure. The lines don't need to be flushed. It just leaks. That's all the problem is. And you're going to have to deal with the fan because it's so hot today. I'm not going to work with no fan. I got a swamp cooler going, and it works really well. So without further ado, let's get started and get some AC going in this Viper. Okay, I just got done with wizard speed. That's pretty exhausting, especially on a hot day working that fast. But I've got the compressor out, and as you can see, this is what I saw when it was in the car. It was like a Chernobyl accident up front. It's glowing green. That means the front seal of the compressor has failed. It was working perfect for him, and then on a hot day, it just gave up the ghost. This compressor is junk. And of course there's nothing over here, it's brand new. The body of the compressor, the whole thing's got a light green color to it as well from spraying, but you can see the culprit right there. This compressor hasn't failed. There's not shrapnel and pieces of stuff all in the line. It's a perfectly working compressor. It just leaks. What we're going to do is empty out the oil that's in this compressor and kind of get an idea of how much was in here. Then we're going to put that much in the new compressor. The system's already full of oil. We don't need to add more than what's already there. So we're going to empty this one out. These take PAG 46. I haven't seen a Chrysler vehicle yet in the modern age that doesn't take PAG 46. Maybe the new 2019s and 20 have something different, but I'm talking about 05, 6, 7, 8, around in there. So let's go ahead and do that. Get our Chernobyl compressor emptied. As you can see, there's not much in there, just enough to lubricate it and keep it happy. It would be a mistake. I might add just a tiny bit more, but to go put a whole... Some of these compressors come from the factory. It says don't mess with it, it's already filled with oil. I empty that because I don't know what oil it is. Does it apply to this vehicle? And secondly, I might need to put a half an ounce or an ounce of oil in, and it's got 6. That's way too much. It can cause issues with cooling. So let's see what's in this one. A nice little pop there from pressure changes. Pretty common. Look at that, guys. If we would have just slapped this compressor on and thrown it on, we'd have been way over on our oil. You don't just take a compressor and just slap it on. Say, oh, it's got oil in it, it's good to go. Nope. That's triple what was in the old compressor. So let's dump that out. That's about it. That's really all you need. If you are taking a compressor off that has 2 ounces of oil in it, and you go and throw one on that's got 6, you may lose cooling capacity. It may not cool very well. It'll be all frothy and foamy in there. And so always do that when you get a new compressor. I've had compressors that says it's already filled with oil, don't mess with it. So I do my normal emptying. There's nothing in it. It was a total sham. There was no oil in it. So if you watch my last video about getting parts, that's goes right along with it. You have to double check yourself. You can't go by, oh, this sticker says this is ready to go. I don't buy it. It's not ready to go in my book. Not until I see and I check and I look at everything and I decide that it's ready to go. Obviously, as we've seen, it wasn't ready to go. We would have filled this Dodge Viper's air conditioning system with 2 or 3 ounces extra of oil. We're going to put the plugs on so I can put it up in the car and not spill it everywhere. So this thing's ready to go. Let's go ahead and get this put back on the vehicle, get the AC charged up, and have a nice cool ride. That's a hot ride. It's a cool inside. When I get the AC machine hooked to this thing, I'll tell you a few more things, but let's go ahead and get this installed first. So we got the compressor in, we've got the machine hooked up, we're pulling a vacuum on it for a while, make sure there's no moisture in the system, and also that it holds a vacuum. While we're waiting, I thought I'd describe to you what all is involved in an air conditioning system. There's people out there that really don't even know what's all involved with it. So you've seen the compressor that we pulled out. That's what actually compresses the refrigerant and brings it up to a pressure. And that's all the function of that is to do, is just to pressurize the Freon. Another thing that's in the system is a receiver dryer, and it has a desiccant, which is a little, I don't know what you call, a little bag of a chemical or a granule that's inside. This is it here. On some systems they're smaller, and some systems are bigger, way bigger than that. But all it does is take moisture out of the system and filters the Freon and the oil. The part that's under your dash where it actually produces the cold air for you is called the evaporator core. As you see these two lines going in here, inside this box, it looks like a little miniature radiator. On some cars it's under the dash, deep inside the dash, but it's just a little bitty radiator inside of there. I believe this one's up in the dash too, it's a little bit further in, but what that does is actually cool the air as it blows air across it, and that's where your cold air comes from. There's an expansion valve in the system, or an orifice tube. All it is just a tiny little hole, a metered hole. It's a little block-shaped thing on an expansion valve. Some cars have a little orifice tube. Here I have an orifice tube. This is an old one that's broken. It's just been sitting around. I thought I'd just show it to you guys. It's also a little filter. It fits actually in the line. And as you can see inside of it, it's just a little tube. This is what helps build your pressure, and your Freon sprays through this thing. And that's what gets so cold. That's what gets ice cold. It's a drop in pressure, and on the other side of this, it gets very hot as it's pressurizing. And that's what's removing the heat out of your cabin, and it goes through the next part in the system. So let's set this aside. Can't see this one very well, but right in front of the radiator on most cars, it looks like a smaller little miniature radiator, and you can see the lines there going to it. But it's called the condenser. It's like a radiator. There's a small radiator in here to blow cold, and there's one up front to get rid of the heat. Actually this way. So it pulls heat out of the cabin and gets rid of it through the condenser. That's how it works. So you got your compressor, the condenser, the expansion valve or orifice tube, you got your receiver dryer, and an evaporator core. That's it. That's all an AC system is. Everything else in between is lines and hoses. Typically what can go bad on those is usually leaks. The compressor can get weak, or if there's catastrophic failure, the compressor can actually send chunks of metal through the system. It gets clogged up in your dryer. It can get pieces inside your condenser. It can clog up your orifice tube or expansion valve. When that happens, you just have to do a wholesale kit. It's called a compressor kit. It comes with, you can't flush the condenser. The holes are so tiny through there that you never could get all the pieces out. And you don't want to put a new compressor on and one of those little pieces comes loose, runs through the lines and gets into your brand new compressor and completely wrecks the thing. It's just cheaper and more guaranteed to have a clean system if you just replace the condenser, replace the orifice tube or expansion valve, the receiver dryer. You can flush the evaporator core, flush all the lines out. That's why AC systems, when they fail like that, is so expensive. You have to replace all those parts, and you got the labor, and you got the Freon and the oil. AC systems aren't cheap when they fail. So this little guy is about done with his vacuuming. We're going to charge it up and get it blowing cold, and I'll get back with you here in a minute. Okay, so we got this thing all hooked up, the AC compressor's on, we got the Freon in. We vacuumed it before we put the Freon in, put a vacuum on it for quite a while. It held and did really well. So I'm glad that we have this thing taken care of. One of the things, you see I have an AC machine. That's very important on today's cars and modern cars. They can be off an ounce or two, too much or too little, and it will directly affect your cooling capability. I get a lot of times where a person is a little low on Freon, a couple ounces. Then they go to Walmart and buy one of those cans, or sometimes the big can, and just dump the whole can in and think, you know, more is better. I'll just put 16 ounces in. And I go to check the Freon level with my machine, and it's like way, it should be maybe 1.2 pounds, and it's got 1.9 or 2.4. I'm like, what in the... Freon doesn't just appear into a system. And I call the customer, and they're like, oh yeah, I put a can in from Walmart. And I'm like, look, you can't do that. You could overcharge your system. You could blow the safety valve on the back of the compressor. You could ruin the compressor. The pressures get too high. So I've had, especially Hondas, some of the newer Hondas can be very sensitive. I've had them 2 ounces too much. I lost a few degrees at the vent. It's cool. It lost cooling ability. I took the 2 ounces out of the system. Perfect. We get 32, 33 degrees out of the vent, 35, somewhere around there. It's very imperative that you have a shop take care of your air conditioner these days. Back in the old days, the old R12 systems, they were a lot more forgiving. These systems are not. So we got the compressor on, we got the AC hooked up, it's blowing real nice cold air. It's not leaking like the other one was. He's going to have a leak-free system. I checked the whole system for UV with my UV light, and the only leaks was the compressor. So if you haven't hit the subscribe button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We have merchandise for sale. Check the link below. And if you haven't gone to Crazy D's channel, you need to check out his channel too. So don't forget about Crazy D. And the one thing left I have to say is don't forget to watch Car Issues on FYI channel. They're saying the ratings are really good. You guys must be out there watching them. I'm real excited. The shows are excellent. Don't miss them if you can watch them. So again, thanks for watching.